In the middle of one of my projects, I found myself downloading the PDFs of a variety of software catalogs. The good ones from the 1970s and 1980s, the ones that would be mailed to people's houses, to their businesses, and which were comprised of the vast majority of commercially available end-user microcomputer software. There were entire worlds of business software and mainframe software for years before this. But these catalogs, designed as they were to attract the same sort of people who were getting catalogs from Sears, Service Merchandise, Macy's, really you name it, were designed with a whole other approach inherent in them. Because I've been looking through these catalogs, I can feel that approach moving through all of the words, the paragraphs, and probably most importantly, these have become something else entirely. This is Jason Scott Talks His Way Out of It, a podcast about technology, history, and getting myself out of debt. Thanks to Jeff Atwood and the hundreds of other supporters on Patreon and elsewhere who have been supporting me and helping me get out of debt. We are now in a space where the vast majority of software exists as a network-provided piece that you press a button and it's on your phone or it's on your computer. And then as infinite numbers of upgrades, versioning, and modifications happen, it just happens. Perhaps it gives you a warning, but often it doesn't. Your software is constantly changing. It would be the greatest of fool's errands trying to track all of the versions of a poker game available on a phone. There's just a constant changing of the guard in terms of the icons, the graphics, the security fixes, and somebody doing the work of trying to tell the tale would probably find themselves not getting it done. The people who created it possibly couldn't get it done. But looking back among these software catalogs that I've been downloading, they are serving multiple functions. First, they are very compelling to me. They tell a tale of software that will make your computer, an already expensive proposition, into something more. For the inflation-adjusted price of $80 to $100, you could have your computer playing poker and winning against you. You could be traveling through an incredible adventure with animals and wizards and villains that are truly alive. You can play a game that beats out what's out in the arcade. You can find yourself writing or creating art with a patient and intelligent assistant who will give you exactly the amount of freedom you need and the guardrails to ensure that your productivity is the top of what it could be. To support this claim comes artwork, cover artwork, illustrations, all of them living amongst the descriptions, sometimes not even referring to a particular piece of software, and they are in every way promising you the moon and the stars in an astronomical value pack. It doesn't matter how many actual colors a computer can produce. Its catalog entries promise you colors that are infinite. You feel like you're looking at something from another world that you can capture and take home. It's a telling point that some of these catalogs feel they have to tell you when you are looking at an actual screenshot, that it hasn't been in some way faked or put together to fool you. There are some software programs that are so well made, so beautiful in how they look, that you feel like you're looking at a lie back then, that you feel like you might be getting lied to. Maybe these computer programs aren't as intelligent as they're being portrayed. Maybe they're not self-sufficient, fully intelligent dungeon masters accounting for every possible thing you can type in. But the promises remain. When I've been working on these catalogs, it's less now as a wide-eyed child hoping for escape from a rather unhappy life, but a historian who is now walking among environments that he is trying to quantify. How many pieces of software came out for the Apple II? How many came out for the Atari, for the Commodore PET, for the Commodore Amiga? And of those pieces of software, how many do we have? How many of these ever made it? These vaporware promises become prominent after a while when you're dealing with a 1 or 2 line ad in the back of a Compute or Creative Computing magazine. They are, after all, whispered dreams. They are, in fact, the hope that somebody can build a new life, build riches and power by selling floppy disks around the country, maybe around the world. Some of these catalogs are fronts for simple computer stores that probably were about the size of a deli, that had shelves and shelves of material, and in the back, people were tinkering and coming up with their own packages that they could then fill their own shelves with and cut all of the middlemen out. The greatest example of this has to be Adventure International, a set of Florida stores run by Scott and Alexis Adams that really got to capture the heart of a lot of microcomputer users, people who still remember it. But there are other stores and there are other businesses that produced these catalogs, shipped them out, and I or others find them in collections, scan them in, and as we're able to make our machines do analysis at greater and greater speeds, the truth, the facts, the results will out. We will find out what never came out, or what can't be found, or what programs we truly hope are sitting somewhere in a collection held by somebody, or maybe the son of somebody who doesn't know the valuable treasure that they still possess. But is it a valuable treasure? Is it really that important that we track down every single bit of code, every single package, every single commercial game and application that ever existed? We're in a situation right now where we tried an experiment. A few years back, a group did an experiment. They were grabbing every free Android app out of the Google Store. We still have it. I believe its name is 1 million applications, and it represents right now a huge piece of cordite, a massive block of indiscriminately kept pieces of software that no doubt had 1,000 little changes done to it over its years, most of these programs not in use anymore. We won't know for years and years what they were and what they did and what they're about. We won't have any idea if we captured truly something special and important, or just took all the cast-offs of 1,000 also-rans who never became the next Angry Birds or Wordle or Balatro. We're not going to find out for a while. There was a drama a little while ago, the kind of drama I really get into, where the archive team had saved all of the copies of everything that was on TestFlight before it became TestFlight, the Apple product, and it turned out there were a mass of betas in there, beta versions of all these different programs. And it had been up for a number of years, but then people started talking about it. And then Mentions of there being early cool versions of programs that went on to great fame got an enormous amount of attention, and with it an enormous amount of legal notes, very angry legal letters, and eventually the removal of that collection from a public repository. That said, it did get out there. It did turn out that this site that had been bought out and was meant to be sort of a scratch pad, a disposable set of sites, actually lived on farther than the company did and represented, to some people, truly valuable things. But there were thousands of apps on there, and many of them had no interesting aspect whatsoever. They didn't work, they lacked features, they were truly broken. But they got to go along for the ride. What I am facing right now is, to me, a worthwhile tour around the exaggerated dreams of catalogs. Unlike pieces of clothing, you can tell with a piece of software whether it exists or not. You can find cover art, you can find reviews, you can find all of the different components trapped within the amber of these other different compilations people have done over the years. There has been, to be clear, a heroic effort to capture all of these different older pieces of software. But we are faced really with an inflection point. The people who experienced these different programs in the direct aggregate are aging out very quickly. Soon, we're not going to have people who played this piece of software when it was new, and we certainly won't have the people who created it. What then do these become? What are these pieces of code? It's an open question. I can't open a book and read from you the perfect quote that tells you what the end game is going to be. But to the best of my ability, to the best of the time that I have, I'm going to make a reasonable effort to look through, to understand what we have, to highlight perhaps the phrase buried treasure. Well, let's go with at least harder to find specimens of things that were once around and may still have some relevance in the modern era. And the result of all that? Connection, community, and a feeling that it was all worth it to store those stacks of paper and those piles of floppy disks for so very long. This is Jason Scott Talks His Way Out of It, thanks to James Bekoyanu, Ernie Hershey, Michael Rubin, Dilip Reddy, Sean Kelly, Trixie the Cat, Joey Mink, Martin, Symbionts, Benjamin Guts, David Fisher, and Anonymous, along with the hundreds of other supporters on Patreon and elsewhere who have been supporting me and helping me get out of debt. It's a beautiful moment when something that was just as good as everything else I remember becomes a new experience for me. When I play some software that dates back to the years that I was excited about all of this, and it feels like it came from there. None of us who pass through time have an omniscient view of what is out there. We are missing out on creations and works and efforts by people. Perhaps one of the great goals here is to encourage others to do a little bit extra digging, to find some truly special moments to experience for the first time instead of 40 years ago.